The team is currently not making any progress in terms of reinforcements. The first is that the country is not a country. The problem is that the user can always get a new one. It's obviously one of them. It is not just that their fighting power is so weak that it is so simple. I'm going to see. The first of the two teams in the East region is the SNCF. There is even a certain probability. The last match of the tournament was not played. Why is it that the Pistons' season of reinforcements never ends? The new rules will be implemented in the coming months. Today we talk about the less weaker we are. I want to make it clear that Pistons are not like Warriors. No one has joined the party. In fact, they are even more active. The deal was made in a few days. The main sources of immigration are also many. Even in the B2 exam rankings, the first time they played a Piston was with a high rating of a Jane. But what about this? I have a different opinion. The results? The leaders of the Free Market Party and the Free Market Party. In fact, it is a good idea. So let's just look at it again. Pistons have been operating since July 1. Free Market officially opened on July 1. The first thing that the Piston does not do is to keep it in the ground. The first time I saw the video was in the video. The team's 12 members. Harris is a writer. The regular race of the plane. The first was in the first round of the tournament. The first is the blue version 2.1. The number of people who were shot was 57.4%. Ben is the top scorer in the position of the Piston wind line. The first is the first time that the country has been in a state of emergency. The attack failed. Harris stands out. The two families were joined by a group of friends. Personal data from chief to chief of staff 18.1 points. 7.2 blue version. What is more important is that Harris's attack was wrong. The first is the seat. Pistons are the most important means of attack. In other words, Harris on the Pistons. The project is a strategic one. Of course, they are. The first time I saw a woman, I was in a coma. He is 34 years old and he is a good man. Who knows when it will suddenly drop? It is impossible to go a long way with the CC. However, the first is that the Pistons have always failed to fill the second most needed point of the CCC. So Harris left. The team had equal ball issues. The first is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demand. After leaving Harris, the Piston is 3.5 million. The following is a list of the most commonly used names in the Philippines. He was seen as a replacement for Harris. What happens afterwards? This is the whole recharger. The biggest operation of the Piston. This is not surprising. Collins will be in the next season. The first 4 roles are as follows. He is a man who can pull space. There must be a big wind in the air about the ability to eat cake. I was working at the Bank of Thailand. The same kind of chemical reaction. The first is the C box. The first is that the natural world is right. But one of Collins' biggest problems is that he doesn't want to be a lawyer. The rules of the game. The defense is very general. He was ranked no. 4. The shield is medium to low level. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. The quality of blue boards has also decreased. The first is that the country is not a democracy. Harris's value in tactical diversity. Collins is unable to fill. And the signing of the agreement. It's probably just one. The results of the playoffs are greater than the signing of the playoffs. The next move of the live race is to get rid of the levee and 2 side wheels on the road. Prince and Jihar were replaced. Prince played only 26 games last season. He is 32 years old. Jihar will also be 32 years old in September. The first 2 seasons of the show were a big hit. The number of people who are affected by this is 3.0. The first is that the internet is not a place for people to go to. The game is free? I'm going to see. The deal is a step forward for the extreme right. The number of people who are not in the same situation. The main goal is to clean up the space. The new deal will create conditions for further transactions. The contest is open to all participants. The 2 sides of the wheel are rotated. The first shot of the lightning bolt. The deal reinforces live racing's projection capabilities. It's really nice. He played 71 games last season. The game was played in a 1-1 draw with a score of 11.1 points. The average death rate for each patient is 42.3%. The number of people who have been infected with HIV is 2.5 G3. The film is about the life of a young actor who is a product of the CCC. It did have a few post-race crashes. The problem is that they can't even attend. But considering its own, the number of people who are dying is only 11 million. It's not acceptable. I'm not sure. The Shooter Hunter. The game is back in the wild with $327 million. The agreement was a bit of a price tag. This is especially important. The second half of last season was live. Hunter throws and runs. The death rate for the third was only 29.4%. The final, it was also 1.2 points per game. The effect is infinite with a range of 0. I almost forgot to mention it. This is a great opportunity to see the story of Stewart. Election day, Live Sport traded Stewart to Grey Bear. The only thing that changed was 3 resignations. This happened in June. I'm not going to focus on it again. The first is the role and value of Stewart. The video of the previous Grey Bear episode is available for viewing. I'm not sure. The first is that the game is a bit of a live-action game. All the main operations. The government has not yet taken any steps to bring about a comprehensive demand. The first is that the country is not a country. Membership of the thinkers and others. The problem is that the internet is not the best place to start. CC's lack of help. The team is facing a lack of workers. The problem is not solved. The contest is not without effort. The opposite is true. The first time they were in the country, they were in the country. Irwin is a writer. Several giants, including Air, are pursuing the project. The offer was also very good. The report also highlights the importance of goodwill. CC himself is deeply involved in the film source work. I'm here to help. Actively trying to recruit more applicants. The people of the country are trying to take over the throttle they are traveling with. The result is, the following is a list of the most common causes of death in the United States. I was rejected, with one exception. In addition to the above, the Pistons' Memorial Day is another major theme. This is the only way to get rid of the problem. But as of now, they still take up the task. This is the worst failure of the group. The Giant. The only thing that is needed is a 5-year, $2.87 billion contract. The oldest of the gangs is even on CCCD. This is far beyond what Pistol expected, and even more than what Pistol could not accept. We have talked about videos before about the power of solitude many times. The report also highlights the importance of the new rules for the use of the internet in the country. The world knows he is not worth the price. I'm going to try to get a Piston first. I'm not sure what they're doing. The Piston is not holding. I'm not going to give a contract to the idea that I'm going to lose my childhood. I'm going to the top of the list. The company has been awarded a garbage contract that is far above its own price. So for the team, the only result is that the government is not going to be able to do anything. New capital space is completely dead. The CCCT is a non-state transaction that has been in the works for years. A team of applicants. The results of the competition were presented in a comprehensive format based on the performance of the competitions in the single elimination tournament. He is also a member of the National Association of Realtors. I think that's the same thing. His legitimate net worth is in the range of $35 million to $40 million. He certainly didn't know that the Sun Star was 60 million gold. The first is that the country is not a country that is a country that is not a country that is 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 a country the world. I'm not sure. The only team that is left is the one that eats the Piston and doesn't want to lose the fertility. So the price of the stars is not going to be shaken. The Pistons know this too. The first is that the children are not allowed to move, so they can only shake their teeth and continue to pull. This is also reported by Shams. The reason for their renewal is expected to last until October. This is not a problem. Pistons are never easy to compromise. Of course, this is not a problem. The management actually has 2 options. The first is to negotiate independently. The first is the purchase of a new product. But what about that? The current marketers? The team is not much more than a team of millions of people alone. The team is not interested in the player alone. The first is that the disease is more severe than the first. The only thing that can be tried. It seems that the king and his baby boy, Bonus, are having a problem. The first is that the chemical reactions of sand and clay could be a question mark. The other option is to sign a contract with the company to offer qualification under the monopoly. The first is Q. Q is a question that you should ask yourself. The video was released last year on Coming Up. We have already explained enough. Welcome to visiting again. If the quality offer contract is lowered, it will mean that the contradictions are temporarily quieted. The 2 sides have a 1-year buffer period. But this is also equivalent to handing over the power of initiative to the monopoly. He is at risk of losing his job next year. So if you want to get a qualification offer, I'm the one who needs to win more. The first is that the people of the country are not allowed to go to the polls. The government has also been trying to get a deal done. He was a member of the team that won the World Cup in 2012. We also need to acknowledge, the only offensive ability in the league is not the top in the league. He is a big help to the CC in the regular races. The team is not in the same position as the team. The first is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demands of the people. In other words, CC's next level of ball pressure. The future is unprecedented. The first is that the country is not a competitive country. The first is that the country is not a democracy. The contestants in the live event have maintained their competitiveness. Some even made substantial reinforcements. The other 6 members of the team don't have to say much. The cost of the entire squad. The company is also a leading provider of CC-level derivatives. The players are all in the squad. If we get rid of the first product of Max plus VJ plus Braun plus LVJ plus NB, we will be able to get rid of the first product of the first product. The first is that the military is not capable of handling attacks from any position. The first is that the government is not going to be able to keep up with the demands of the people. The first is that the race is not just a simple, regular race star. If the 2 couples meet in front of the series, the race is a bit of a shock to the heart. Nick, the champion, has retained the disputed First Nations. While there are risks of tiles leaving the team, but it's the future. Just look at the next race. Keeping them healthy. The first is the sweetness of the world. The first is in Toronto. The deal was signed by Lehner and the company is now in the process of closing. I'm not sure what I'm saying. The next step is likely to be completed. What is more important is that the power of the Tiger itself is not weak. Minor League Baseball is coming to a close. The new race will be upgraded. The team's overall support for the match is live. The benefits are obvious. The game is also a hot one. The team is difficult to match against the offensive in the powerlifting competition. But after a few games, you're looking for a fight. The ability to earn is far above the race to the finish. The riders who were sent home alive after the final race of the season. Although there is no significant improvement. But it is important to consider. The game itself has lost many han. The power decline. So what? If we meet again, the nights may have passed without having to hit a strong period. The first is that the company is not a commercial company. The price of the horse in Habibaden. The game is not a live game, and it is not a simple game to win. The 2 teams are above the limit of being in a live match. Yellowstone is a youth army. The first is the development of the book in a year. The next level is the level of the team they can grow. The book is unpredictable. Even after the last race, the final was a good one. The game is played with a powerful and difficult magic. The next live race could be a big problem for the next race. So what? I also said that the live race could not be a qualifying round. I'm not a big fan of the show. The report also shows that the number of people who are suffering from diabetes is increasing. The race is relatively safe. The opposite is true. If the CCC is down, the first is that the patient is not sick. The situation could be very bad. The NBA's top-level player. 3 teams with 60 victories. The difference is, Retton has won the MVP for 2 years. The first is the Presti. The team is operating steadily. The core framework is stable. The first 2 years of the program were spent in the city of New York. The story of the first woman to be killed in a plane crash in the U.S. The 3 main themes. The bank is a major financial institution in Bangladesh. The first is the battle of the sexes. The Chinese government has also been providing the backbone of the country's population with the POP and GDP. The only thing that is important is the small amount of money that is collected. The first is the story of Harris. I'm not sure what I'm doing. The first time I saw a woman in the street, I was in the middle of a fight. The live race is clearly the worst of them all. They are a team as a small ball. The attraction of the stars is less. This also explains why the CCC is recruiting helpers. The first time I saw the video was in the video. It's not easy to have some superpowered stars. But they all have their own problems. The group's members were also invited to attend the meeting. Small balls are a great asset to keep the team competitive. This is the election. However, the contest is also a dead end. Ivy's business added that he had problems and had been abandoned. Hallen highlighted in the previous video. Opportunities for progress are slow. The country is on the brink of abandonment. Alsar is relatively reliable, but the problem of injection is always deadly. It is hard to say that live race is directly in the middle of a breakup. After all, the CC is still there. The first is that the government is not going to be able to do anything about it. Hal and I believe in the ability of CC. The game is a game of chance. I'm sure he'll use his own unusually thick shoulder. The whole bike is complete. But the problem is, how long can it be?